had a sponsor, and we can talk a little bit about that too, because it's actually really interesting, because the sponsor that I have in AA is a older man, has 40 years, and he's kind of like that drill sergeant. And it's interesting how that kind of like played around, like played full circle in my life, that like I've tried getting sober in the past with people that kind of were nicer to me and like were coddling and just wanted to make sure I'm okay. Like, you picked women, you picked drugs, you picked work over them, you picked all of these things before your children, and then you expect them to respect you. Just like for some reason that day, I was just ready to hear it. And, I've had this ego, which I developed as the years went on. And this man, beat the humility back into me, just like I did for tattooing.
What was rock bottom?
Um, I mean, I would think that the three DUIs, the jail times from the drug charges, the totaling cars, you would think that was rock bottom, but it wasn't. And it had to continue. Being a dad, being a drug addict, that wasn't rock bottom. Um, Sometimes I feel like people have to like die. Like I said, I didn't come in here with a winning streak. Like, I was at my last straw, and it got to a point where I went to rehab, and I got out of rehab, and I had developed um, like more arrogance. I thought I was better than people because now I was sober, and I tried to do it on my own. I didn't want to go to meetings. I didn't want to ask for help, so I just got out of rehab, and I thought I was all good. And that ended up with a worse relapse, where I ended up doing fentanyl, and it was an accident. And my drug dealer, it's funny, my drug dealer sold me oxys, so I thought they were oxys, and my drug dealer called me, and he was like, "Hey, I got to pick those up because they have fentanyl in them." And at this point, I already snorted like a few of them. And I was like, all right. And he comes by, replaces them with the real oxys, and then later on, I realized that I like the ones with the fentanyl in them. I was like, and then, but it's pretty bad when your drug dealer's like. When I called him, I was like, hey, can I get those ones with the fentanyl in them? He's like, no. I scared my drug dealer. I was like, well, it was just a lot stronger. And
When was that?
that was about 4 years ago. No, 3 years ago. 3 years ago. Well, 3 years I've been sober, so it has to be, within that period of time, like 4 years to the year I got sober. And I ended up overdosing on fentanyl. Luckily, I didn't have my younger kids around. That's other stuff too that, like, again, like a lot of this, signs, the multiple rock bottoms that I completely ignored. Like, my kids' moms didn't trust me with my kids, so I didn't have them. My daughter, was with my mom. I just wasn't trusted as a dad. I've always loved my kids, and they know I've always loved them. The scary part, I was a functioning drug addict. I was able to buy a house at 25 on a full-blown heroin addict. With a job, making money, tattooing. Like I'm telling, like tattooing, like people don't understand how like you can really make a living tattooing. But mix that with some drugs and stuff is like it's a little scary.
Do you think it would have been a lot more difficult to keep up the act, or were you even attempting to hide the fact that you were abusing drugs?
Yeah, I mean, I, as we call it, is like a functioning addict. Was kind of, I thought I was good at hiding it, but I kept going in and out of jail, and I think people noticed, and I was really skinny, but I had been a drug addict at such a young age that I've always just looked that way, so I developed a tolerance. I've developed a job, a relationship, had kids, like all on, either one drug or another, whether it was pills or heroin. And it just like, towards that time before I went to rehab, before I got sober this time, I developed a cocaine addiction, and then it went from doing downers to doing uppers. And then it wasn't really easy to hide. Like I was fucking all over the place. And I was like barely making it, barely paying the bills. Um, and I was tattooing, and I mean, tattooing with a shaky hand isn't like the best. I always make a joke that like I started dot work the way that I do it now. Like I do everything inverted because I couldn't pull a fucking line if my life depended on it. So I was like, well, what if I dot in between the lines? And I developed this like style that I do today. Yeah.
Is there ever fears that you might regress,
Fears that I might, what's that?
fall back into relapse?
Relapse, yeah. Oh yeah, I'm terrified of it. After that last overdose, it was just, like my daughter had to, come to the hospital, my mom. And the scary part was that I went home and I continued to use. That's what scared me. And so, yeah, I work a program, and I work it to the best of my ability. And, I pray every morning. The first thing I pray for is to keep me sober, because of my arrogance. And, the thing that scares me the most is not when bad shit happens. Like, when bad shit happens, like, I can handle that. I've lost a lot of people. I've dealt with death. I've been in and out of jail. I've lost things that I loved. I've lost people. But it's when good things happen. So, like, when I got the shop, when I got my kids back, I got my license back, I got a new truck, like, those are the things that scare me the most, because I forget that they're God-given, or whatever you guys believe in. I choose to call it God. Like, those were God-given. That wasn't me. That wasn't my ego. That was me changing my life around, where I am of service today. I work a program. I have a sponsor that had a sponsor, and we can talk a little bit about that too, because it's actually really interesting, because the sponsor that I have in AA is a older man, has 40 years, and he's kind of like that drill sergeant. And it's interesting how that kind of like played full circle in my life, that like I've tried getting sober in the past with people that kind of were nicer to me and like were coddling and just wanted to make sure I'm okay, to like having a mentor in AA now that was like, sit down, shut the fuck up. Like, he was the first person. Well, it's actually funny how I met him. I met him. Me and my daughter had gotten to an argument. Me and my daughter never argue. Like, we're the closest. She's seen me at my worst. She's seen me at my best. And I was finally sober for about 3 weeks. So that arrogance of like, now I'm sober again, respect me and love me. Look at me, I'm doing good. And me and my daughter got into one of the worst arguments. And she called me a deadbeat dad, a fucking loser, a narcissist, And I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, I'm sober now. Like, what are you talking about? You're supposed to respect me and love me. And I remember I had my mom pick her up, because that's what great dads do, right? Call grandma. Like, hey, come pick up your granddaughter. Like, I'm going to fucking strangle her. Like, get her the fuck out of the house. And I remember when she got picked up, and the first thing that I had in my mind, and I had 3 weeks of sobriety, and this is after the overdose, I was like, I'm gonna go out tonight. Fuck that. Nobody respects me. I'm trying. I'm doing my best. I'm going to go out and get drunk. And that was like, I remember, like, I missed the party. I missed going out, the light, and the nightlife. And that's what scared me. And I remember going into my room and getting on the side of my bed and getting on my knees and just asking God, like, I didn't want to go back out. I was terrified. I just didn't know what to do. So I got on my knees and I prayed, and I canceled an appointment that day, which I never do. Money is my all. You know, I loved making money, and I never cancel on a client, and I hate doing that. But that day, I just like, for some reason, I picked up my phone, I called them, and I said, hey, I can't work today. I have to do something. And I got on my phone, and I found the closest meeting that was, you know, that I can go to, and I went. And I got to this perk meeting, and it was really small. It was a small, and I hate the smallest meetings because then everybody shares. And then I remember it started going around the circle, and then two guys on the side of me, one guy shared about how his dad was a drug addict and an alcoholic and what it did to him and how it fucked him up. And it was just like, I was hearing my daughter's side of the, you know, the story. And by the time it got to me, I just like started crying, and my daughter called me a fucking loser and a deadbeat, and I'm trying. And then I remember after that meeting, this old man came up to me and was like, hey, come here. And he's like, this is what you're going to do. You're going to go buy some flowers, you're going to get $100 gift card, and you're going to take it to your daughter. And I was like, what the fuck? I was like, did you just hear what I said? I was like, she just called me a deadbeat dad and a fucking loser. Like, fuck that. And he was like, no, it's because you're a deadbeat dad and you're a fucking loser. Like, you picked women, you picked drugs, you picked work over them, you picked all of these things before your children, and then you expect them to respect you. And just like, for some reason that day, I was just ready to hear it. And, you know, I've had this ego, which I developed as the years went on. Like, and this man, you know, beat the humility back into me, just like I did for tattooing. And so with this, you know, program that I have today, I put just as much effort into my tattooing into this program, and I get to help others and live a, you know, a successful life.
Thank you for sharing, first of all. It must be hard. You had mentioned something that I really want to key in on, where it's not the bad times that are hard, it's when everything is going good. Do you think possibly that stems from maybe like a trauma response, to where you're used to, you know, being your stuff thrown away, all these issues you're used to dealing with that are, you're used to people, like you said, passing away, you know, people leaving. That's the easy part, right? You're used to the bad. But when maybe you weren't used to the seeing the good, right, in maybe life, I'm not sure, it's a genuine question. Do you think that's why you feel more nervous at those points when things are in the right direction, because you're less used to that in your life as a whole?
Yeah, I think it's like a healthy fear. More so like I get egotistic. Once my head gets fat and I start getting things, and I start to believe that, like, I'm so great, like, I got me here. You know, like, that's kind of like what I'm more afraid of. Not that necessarily things are good, that I'm going to fuck it up. No, actually, yeah, that's exactly what I mean. It's like things start getting so good that how am I going to fuck this up? Because I do it every time. I've done it over and over. And, you know, I'm still here, you know, which is a fucking blessing that I haven't died with. You know, I've gotten stabbed, I've gotten shot at, I've been in the worst places, you know, and I'm still here. So like, yeah, when good things do happen, now I'm scared of losing it, because I was so reckless my entire life. I didn't care about dying. I thought I was invincible.
Now when events come up, and you know, like parties or things you have, engagements you kind of can't say no to, and there might be drinks, how do you handle that? How does that go? Do you avoid it? Do you opt
Yes.
out of going?
Yeah, I do. If it's not like, if I have no business being there, then I avoid it. If it's like a of friends getting married and they drink, like I can't control people around me, but I always like have a backup plan. Like I have my own car. I show up for and do, be there for my friends and family. But once they start getting tipsy, that's when I exit the party. But I work a program that gets me spiritually fit where I can go anywhere and be okay. At first, when I was first new and freshly sober, I was terrified of those places. And again, it was a healthy fear because I was paranoid of going back. So I stayed the hell away from anybody that was drinking, using. So they say in the program, like you're supposed to change it. You're only supposed to change one thing, and that's everything in the program. And I don't. It doesn't say that in our book, like. But what I got from that is like, once you start living this different direction of praying, meditating, thinking of others, helping others, being of service, like I started changing everything. I didn't know I was changing everything, but everything just started to change for me when I started living in, God's will or higher power. Like I started really just I stopped doing wrong shit, and things started to happen for me.